Welcome to another deep dive. You guys really wanted us to untangle the whole psychology of cheating thing.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
So we're going to dive into this conversation between Matthew Hussey and Sadia Khan.
Two relationship experts.
Mm-hmm. Two relationship experts with like totally opposite takes.
Should be interesting.
So yeah, buckle up.
It's going to be good.
Hussey, he kind of jumps right in saying men cheat because they have this, I don't know, like a biological need for adventure.
Sexual adventure.
Right, especially if they've been, loyal and maybe not getting as much action for a while.
He makes it sound like, I don't know, almost like a transaction.
Right.
Like a reward system in relationships.
Yeah. Like they've earned it or something.
Right, like racking up good husband points.
Exactly. Like, okay, I've been good for this long now. I deserve this.
Yeah, and it's interesting what he says about men feeling awkward.
Oh, yeah.
Expressing your desires.
Sure, especially to their wives.
Especially after seeing them, in a motherly role.
Like breastfeeding and stuff.
Yeah, it makes you think about intimacy in those long-term relationships.
Yeah.
Is it really about not getting enough? Or is there just like a communication breakdown?
Totally. And then Khan just like throws this curveball.
Oh, yeah, she did.
She's like, no, actually more women cheat.
Whoa.
And she says it's often strategic. Like she's seen women who pick partners they don't even fully respect.
Knowing they probably won't leave them.
Even if they find out.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes you wonder if women are just more aware of like,
The power dynamics.
yeah, the power dynamics.
It's like they're playing 4D chess or something.
Yeah, some serious strategy.
Right. And then, oh boy, then they get into the blame game.
Here we go.
Khan, she does not hold back.
Yeah.
She's like the person who got cheated on. Maybe they're partly responsible too.
Oh,
I know, right?
that's harsh.
She's like, they probably saw those red flags.
Early on.
Yeah, but chose to ignore them.
So they kind of participated.
Yeah, she even compares it to leaving your doors unlocked.
Doesn't mean you want your stuff stolen.
Right. But maybe you made it easier.
Yeah. And so she's like, if you pick someone who's cheated before.
You're kind of complicit.
I see your point.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think.
For sure.
But, I mean, is that really fair to blame the person who got cheated on?
Right. Like, how can you be responsible for someone else's choices?
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting because they have totally different ideas about self-compassion.
And self-respect.
Right. Hussey's all about self-compassion.
Like, it's the key to healing and moving on.
Exactly. He says beating yourself up, totally useless.
And even the person who messed up, they need compassion to change.
Yeah, he even talks about like our nervous systems and how they react based on past experiences.
So self-compassion helps us understand those reactions.
And choose something different.
It's not about making excuses.
More about breaking those bad patterns.
Yeah, I get that.
But Khan, she's not so sure about all this self-compassion stuff.
Oh, really?
She thinks too much of it.
Can lead to making excuses
Yeah.
for bad behavior.
And avoiding responsibility.
Right. And she's much more about self-respect.
Which is like the foundation for a good relationship.
Exactly. It's about making choices.
That line up with your values.
And help you grow.
Like setting boundaries.
Not tolerating being disrespected.
It's less about forgiving yourself and more about
Holding yourself to a higher standard.
in the present.
Yes.
Yes.
So they're both kind of saying, take ownership of your life.
Your choices.
Through either compassion or respect.
Understanding your role in the relationship.
And being accountable.
Totally different paths.
But they lead to the same place.
It's fascinating.
I know, right? Like there's no one right answer.
Makes you think.
Definitely. And it highlights how we all kind of have to find what works for us.
Right. That balance between forgiving yourself and holding yourself accountable.
Totally. And they both, Hussey and Khan, are like on the same page when it comes to communication.
Like it's the foundation.
For a healthy relationship.
Yeah, they're like, if you're not communicating your needs and desires, oh, it's a recipe for disaster.
Resentment.
Frustration.
Even infidelity.
Exactly. Hussey even specifically talks to women about, like,
And you open.
to their partner's desires, in the bedroom.
Without judgment.
Or shame.
He sees it as like an act of trust.
Building intimacy.
It challenges those old ideas about how we're supposed to talk about that stuff.
For sure. But Khan's like, hold on, honesty has to go both ways.
Right. It's not just about your partner's needs.
It's about knowing your own.
Your boundaries.
And sometimes that honesty
Might make you realize.
you're not getting what you need.
And then you have to make a choice.
Do you try to fix things?
Or walk away.
Yes, no, easy answer.
But got to be honest with yourself.
And make choices that make you happy.
In the long run.
Which brings us to choosing a partner in the first place.
Oh yeah, big decision.
Khan really emphasizes healing your own baggage first.
Before looking for someone to complete you.
Right. You can't expect them to fix you.
Take responsibility for your own well-being.
Work on your own issues.
Before jumping into a relationship.
Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for more hurt.
Exactly.
And Hussey, he's all about being totally honest about
needs, making sure you're truly compatible.
Let's on a deep level.
He even says, imagine the worst case scenario.
Divorce.
Co-parenting.
Money problems.
And ask yourself, would this person still be decent?
Even under all that pressure.
It's like a stress test for the relationship.
Can it survive?
I like that analogy.
Me too.
Yeah.
And this is where I found Khan's perspective really interesting.
What's that?
She's like, sometimes self-compassion can backfire.
How so?
Like you end up excusing bad behavior.
Because you're so focused on understanding their past?
And their reasons.
You forget about how their actions are affecting you.
Right, you're trying to save them.
Instead of yourself.
And that's where self-respect comes in.
Knowing your worth.
Setting boundaries.
Not tolerating disrespect.
Saying, I get it, but that's not okay.
Sometimes it means walking away.
Even if it hurts.
So again, that balance.
Compassion and accountability.
You can be compassionate.
Without being a doormat.
Healthy boundaries are key.
But Hussey, he also warns about being too focused on accountability.
Without any self-compassion.
He calls it self-tyranny.
Constantly punishing yourself.
Instead of learning and moving on.
He reminds us we're all works in progress.
Growth takes both accountability.
And self-forgiveness.
Admit your mistakes.
Without the shame spiral.
Find that middle ground.
Where you can be honest with yourself.
Without forgetting your worth.
It's a delicate dance.
So as we're figuring out this whole relationship thing.
That's complicated.
How can we actually use this stuff?
Well, communication is a good place to start.
Be open.
Honest with yourself.
And your partner.
About what you need and want.
And those boundaries.
Don't avoid the tough conversations.
Like Khan said, clear communication prevents heartache.
And if those conversations show you're not compatible.
Don't be afraid to walk away.
You deserve to be with someone who respects you.
Values you.
Hears you.
Absolutely. And before you even get into a relationship.
Take time for yourself.
Figure out your own patterns.
What you're looking for.
What you absolutely won't tolerate. And like Hussey said, imagine the worst case scenario.
Can you still respect this person?
Even if everything falls apart.
It's about building a foundation.
Of trust. Shared values. Yeah, like you're building a house, you don't want to build it on sand.
Right. You need a strong foundation.
One that can handle anything.
And it's not just about what you're getting from the relationship.
It's what you're giving, too.
Mutual respect, support, compromise.
Khan mentioned how a lot of her clients, they end up excusing bad behavior.
Yeah.
Because they're like projecting their own insecurities.
It's so easy to get caught up in your own stuff.
And miss what's really happening.
Yeah, like you're trying to fix them.
Instead of protecting yourself.
And that never works.
You can't change someone else.
Only yourself.
And it starts with those boundaries.
Not putting up with disrespect.
This is going to sound crazy, but Hussey actually said men might not be less communicative.
What?
I know, right? He's like, maybe they're just as emotional.
But they don't have the tools to express it.
Or a safe space to do it.
We got to get rid of those gender stereotypes.
Create a space where everyone feels comfortable.
Sharing their feelings.
No matter who they are.
It's about vulnerability.
Being open and honest.
Especially in relationships.
So as we wrap up this whole cheating thing.
Lots to think about.
What's the one thing you want people to remember?
Pay attention to those early red flags.
Don't ignore them.
If something feels off.
It probably is.
Trust your gut.
And don't be afraid to ask the tough questions.
Of yourself and your partner.
Be honest about what you need.
What you want.
What you expect.
Relationships need communication.
Respect.
A commitment to grow together.
When you have those things.
You've got a strong foundation.
This has been such a fascinating look at cheating.
It's so many different perspectives.
Challenging ideas.
I hope this has given you all some food for thought.
And helped you think about your own relationships.
With more awareness.
Honesty. As always, let us know what you think.
What resonated with you?
What questions do you still have?
Leave a comment below.
And thanks for joining us on this deep dive.